Okay, all right. Well, welcome to the Sunflower Guru podcast. My name is Ray. I am your host, and we are honored to welcome our guest, EricJosephLewis and Jessica Russell, to the show. Jessica Russell is an adventurer, homesteader, and foodie who loves to live life on the wild side. Love it. Eric Joseph Lewis is a plant lover and educator whose mission in life is to deepen the relationship between plants and people. Together, they help to manage a plant path nursery and a permacultural plant nursery that focuses on fruit and nut trees, perennial vegetables, medicinal herbs, and to support species. Their aim is to create a thriving habitat and to meet the needs of both plant and peoples. So thank you, both of you, for coming to the show and being willing to share your experience with everybody. I would love to hear about your journey. Let's first begin on what brought you to this way of living, to this lifestyle.
You want to start?
Sure. I think I don't know, it's just kind of inevitable. I began working with plant medicines a few years ago, and I guess just getting to know plants energetically without even knowing their name or what use they were for, just literally, I don't know, I guess a common thing that people do now is like forest bathing. But I didn't really have a word for it then. I would just sit out in the forest and just let it kind of wash over me for
It's the energy. I do the same thing, honestly. It's been a while since I have, but when you're in different forests, like the energy is different with the plants and the people and the trees and stuff. So I deeply connect to that. And how did you dive into the medicinals from there? Like, how did it connect to you?
So I think originally I had gone to a gathering out in Panama, and it was being hosted by native tribes from all around the world. And they yeah, that's kind of where I was exposed to permaculture for the first time, sustainable living, and just working with the earth in general. And they just shared so many skills and medicines and ceremonies, um, and so yeah, that was kind of like what planted the seed for me. And that all happened during COVID. Um, so like I was in Panama, and then I got sent back to the States because everything was being shut down. And then I was really frustrated in the whole with COVID and everything, and just like society just being what it was. That I just decided to go and explore more. And about a year later, I went to Costa Rica and met with more medicine women.
Mm.
And I went up to Canada and got to sit with the trees for a really long time, and just like an ancient growth forest. And then after that is when I met Eric, and I was down in Florida at an earth skills gathering and just learning all about primitive skills. And he was leading plant walks, and we just became really good friends. And then we're very infatuated, and yeah. And so yeah, and like when I came and joined his life, then I was like, oh wow, this is also amazing, and people are doing what I want to do here in the States. And there's really beautiful community, and everyone was growing and doing permaculture and working with the earth. I was just like, I want to be a part of this. And yeah,
That's
so I've been
beautiful.
now 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It sounds like your guys' beliefs really lined up nicely and it just like correlated at the right path and time.
hmm Yeah,
Awesome.
sure.
Awesome. I'm curious about the medicine woman experiences that you've had as well. But you don't have to embellish on those if you don't like. I know those are really personal experiences. Um, How about you, Eric? Tell us a little bit about your journey to permaculture or the lifestyle and sustainability as well.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a similar story, and I think that it's a very similar story for a lot of people, and at least like the core elements of it. It was just like I started spending more time in the forest and just wandering around in the woods, and like really it all came about because I just didn't want to pay rent. I like had this choice to either pay rent and get a room in a friend's like group house and work like 5 or 6 days a week to cover all of my expenses, or live in a tent in the woods and not pay any rent and work 1 day a week so that I could cover my food needs. And so yeah, I went with the latter. And uh one day I was going to visit like eco village intentional community kind of thing north of Baltimore, and this little community called Heathcote, they had a little permaculture internship 2 month program or whatever. And I was like, that sounds great. I want to do that. And so as I was breaking down camp, my buddy Davey came by and he was like, hey, I don't know many plants, but I took a forest ecology class in college, and I recognized this plant that's all around your camp is wild blueberries. You live in a patch of wild blueberries. And I was like, what? What? There's wild blueberries? Like these things actually produce blueberries that I can eat? And he was like, yeah, yeah. I mean, like it's only for a little couple of weeks in the summertime, but yeah. And then I was like, wait a second, because I thought I was going to have to learn how to farm and, grow my own food and all that kind of stuff. And then he was like, well, no, actually, there's free food in the forest. And I was like, free food in the forest. What else can I eat out here? Can I eat that one? Can I eat that one? Like, and so I got really into foraging, and then later on down the road, I realized like, oh wait, yeah, foraging is great for me and for a handful of people, but with all the destruction that has been caused in the last like, especially 100 years, but as long as Europeans have been here cutting down old growth forests, there's been serious damage to this habitat. And it kind of dawned on me that, like, wait, everybody can't live like this. The way that things are set up right now, everybody can't live like this. So, what do we need to do to get it to a space where everybody can live like this and just like forage and live in community and do all the awesome things instead of working suck ass jobs that suck the soul out?
I resonate with that because in the city, I feel spiritual death, truly. And then when you get out in the forest and you reconnect with earth, there is such a spiritual nature to it. And it's healing too, as well. That's really beautiful. Um, could you expand a little bit on how you guys have used nature into your lifestyles, like living lifestyles with your homes? You mentioned, well, we'll start one thing at a time. Your homes. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about your sustainable building and how you live.
I mean, right now we live in a little finished wing of a barn at Plant Path Nursery, and it's very much a kind of standard, like, I don't know, not quite tiny house, but sort of just like a little studio apartment sort of thing. We have a sink, and we cook all of our meals with like instant pots and stuff like that. But the long term vision is definitely to build something more like an earthen home or hempcrete, or something with natural materials that is passive heated and cooled, which can be achieved by a number of different methods. But um, yeah, I think the where we are right now is very much like a launch pad, and we're just really starting to build the foundations of how to approach creating this lifestyle for ourselves for the long term.
Absolutely.
Some things, some sustainable projects that we've incorporated even in this space are things like composting toilets, and we had a compost hot water system going last season, but now we're taking that apart to revamp it and create another compost hot water system again.
I would love to hear a little bit about that. I'm so curious how that works and how you utilize it. How do you build it? How do you put it together and then also channel your water to be able to be used and heated up in the right ways?
So basically, we've got our outdoor shower bath area in a corner of the greenhouse. And there's just like a regular hydrant there where you lift up the handle and it goes out to a four-way splitter. And then there's a hose that connects to like some PEX tubing, which is basically polyethylene pipe that's used for commercial plumbing and irrigation systems. And so then that line goes into a giant compost pile that's mostly made out of wood chips.
Mm.
I think Dan added a little bit of horse manure and a little bit of like more finished compost just to inoculate the pile with the sort of thermophilic bacteria that really drives the process. But yeah, the gist of it is just that we have this pipe that coils around inside of the compost pile, inside of the huge pile of wood chips. And when you pump the water in there, it sits in this pile overnight, and the heat, which can be as much as like 170 degrees from a big pile of wood chips, goes in through the pipes and into the water and heats up that water. And then we take a shower, and when we cut on the cold water, it pushes the hot water through all of those lines before the cold water can reach us. And so
Mm.
we were getting like 10 to 15-minute showers, nice hot showers from it.
That's
And
incredible.
we were able
Wow.
to fill about half of a bathtub with really hot water. And then we would finish it off with the propane hot water heater. But this year we're going to put Dan and Lisa, the folks who own the land that we're on and who I partnered up with originally to start Plant Path Nursery, their hot water heater had an element, an electrical element go bad in it. And this is something that happens all the time. These old hot water heater tanks get thrown away on a regular basis. So we're going to try using that as a big storage tank to where we'll have 45 gallons of hot water available. I think it'll take a lot longer to heat up than the water in the pipes did, but we only take a bath like once a week or something, or a couple times a week at most. And so we'll be able to take showers during the week because of the piping, but then we'll have the big tank for when we want to do hot bath. We'll be able to do that without any propane is the goal for the
Ooh,
next
I
section.
love the energy saving concepts there. I've actually never heard of this technique before. It's super unique and innovative. I absolutely love it. And it sounds like it works for you, like with the lifestyle that you have. Um, I love the sustainability of it, and it kind of veers away from just using electric from the on-grid system. That's a way you can use it off-grid if you have like maybe your pump on solar or something like that. Incredible. Absolutely amazing.
That's the next thing we're going to work on is the solar system.
Yeah, and I mean, we've started our rainwater catchment as well. So I mean, if we were able to even hose that in like through some filter,
Yeah.
get that through. But
Yeah, eventually we do want it to be completely off grid. We've got like 6 solar panels and an inverter and battery bank. It's just like finding the time to do all the things, to be like the electrical engineer, the plumber, the builder, the gardener, the farmer, the,
Mhm. Mm.
running the nursery, shipping orders out, and still teaching foraging classes, still having to go out and forage for ourselves because we need our wild food in our bellies too.
Yes, yes. Well, I have a little resource for you if you'd like. He's called Explores Life on YouTube. That's what I used for my bus build for my solar system. So they
Oh,
teach
nice.
you everything. Shout out, not sponsored, but they teach you all the safety features, all the fuses, every little thing, the wire sizes that you need as well, if that's something you're looking for. Um,
Yeah, awesome. I always like finding more information and all that.
Yeah, they do it for like off-grid schoolies, but it can totally be for like an off-grid home system. It's on like 110 volt system. So it's not like a 220 big house system, but I prefer it to be kind of smaller and sustainable. And if you touch the wires in the wrong way, it won't shock you too bad, you know. And
Yeah.
so yeah, they're really good to check out. Let's get into, because it sounds like you're really into the farming right now and the nursery type of aspects. I would love to hear a little bit about your 4-season greenhouses. You mentioned those and kind of how you function with that, how you rotate things through your greenhouses and what that looks like.
Yeah, so the greenhouse that we have right now is just like a standard kind of caterpillar tunnel, and the hot water system, the compost hot water system was originally intended to be pumped through the greenhouse to heat the soil underneath.
Mm,
Um, we might get around to doing that this year. It's definitely looking like a strong probability that we'll be able to get into that. But further down the line to get 4-season cultivation. So that's like a 3-season setup. It gets us pretty much from from like late February into mid December or so. But then those coldest months out of the year, there's really not much that grows in there aside from like parsley and some really cold hardy greens.
mm.
But we do have some friends who are doing the underground greenhouse, which is like, it's not exactly, I wouldn't call it a Wallapini, but it's the Russell Finch design. Our friends over at Planetary Farm, shout out to Dave Mascatello over there. They're like 20 minutes away. And he's got a system where using corrugated, like the black corrugated drain tile. It's like this plastic piping that sometimes you see at the end of gutters. But it's basically just a perforated black plastic corrugated tubing. He's got hundreds of feet of that buried down at 7 feet deep, which is like the geological constant temperature for
Mhm.
us around here is about 7 feet deep. The frost line is like 30 inches, but that's just to where it no longer freezes. It still gets really cold there. So if you go down to 7 feet, the ground temperature there is constantly 59 degrees in this area. So
Mm.
he's got this drain tile running through the ground below the freeze line, below the geological constant point, and then fans that just pump the air around. And it's supposed to be only like $1 a day to run the heating and cooling on that. That
I,
being said, it does cost like tens of thousands of dollars to build. I think like 50 grand or
Right.
something.
And I mean, we're trying to find ways to create a more accessible version of that. And so, like, there's been people that have created greenhouses for season with mulch, just like putting piles of mulch on the walls and
insulate a little bit. And, yeah.
grow a lot.
Yeah, there's actually a guy in Utah who he's done like 7 or 8 of these greenhouses now, and he basically just does an A-frame greenhouse with regular plastic uh polytunnel kind of plastic and greenhouse, just like the normal greenhouse plastic that actually he gets for free from other growers when they're throwing away their old stuff. He
Mm.
goes and grabs it from them, and it costs him maybe $1,000 in lumber. He gets the wood chips dropped off for free, and then piles up 8 feet on the north side and like 4 or 5 feet on the south side, so that the sun gets in there. And in Zone 6 Utah, he is growing citrus year round.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I'm super excited by that prospect as well. So we're hoping we'll be able to get one of those built this year. Might not happen. There's a lot of other priorities on the list. But one of the things we're going to also experiment with this year is we've been nursing along a bunch of different dwarf bananas and papaya and lemon, loquats, satsuma oranges, just like in big pots, and we bring them in the winter time. And so like our whole living area is just like plants everywhere.
Like our greenhouse.
Yeah, so that's what we've been doing. But I think we're gonna put a number of those plants into the greenhouse this year. And my dear friend William Kramer down at Chesapeake's Bounty in Southern Maryland, he did a setup for his chayote this year where he just built up walls made of straw bales and then laid a sliding glass door on top of them. And that was enough that his chayote never died back, which tells me that's warm enough temperatures for citrus to do fine. So we're going to try planting some in the ground, and we're going to just build little mini greenhouses inside of the greenhouse, plus with the heating of the hot water pumping through, and maybe like Christmas lights on really cold nights. The old school incandescent Christmas lights radiate a little bit of heat, and we can set those on the citrus plants, and it'll just like keep the frost off of them a little bit.
Yeah, so that sounds like it's going to be a little bit of an experiment to see kind of how it works for you. It's always such a loss when you lose a plant, especially a citrus tree that you might have been growing for oh so many years. I wish you luck on that one. Experiments are good, but
Yeah, you got to take the gamble sometimes. Like I always tell people are like, Eric, how did you get so good at growing plants? I'm like, I'm not good at growing plants. Actually, I just plant lots of them so that more than half of them can die, and it still looks like a great success.
I've heard that you plant more seeds.
Yeah, you want to grow plants, you got to kill plants. Part of the process.
True, true, true. How long does that process take to like set up for you? Is it a much of a project, or is it very easy to just implement and put in there? Say if winter is approaching, you can just like put it in real quick, or do you have to plan it ahead of time?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of planning. There's a lot of planning and just sort of having things prepped in the appropriate way in the appropriate season makes all the difference with this stuff. This year we're doing pretty good. We're starting to get to the point of being behind schedule, but so far we've been pretty well on schedule with most of our plantings and prep work and things like that. But yeah, I think timing is everything with all this stuff. And so really like paying attention to the seasons and what the weather is doing and getting things in the ground at the right time makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
As far as like, prepping the greenhouse for winter, it's really just a matter of rolling the walls down and sealing off the fans with greenhouse plastic, which doesn't take too long, like an hour or something to prep the greenhouse for winter.
Not bad, not bad. It sounds like a whole different world to do it in real time instead of just reading it on paper. It's amazing just to hear about your experience in the real time, like groundedness of what it takes to get these things together. Is it just you two on the farm, or do you guys have help? Do you have people coming through?
Yeah, we've got one other friend that lives adjacent to us, that's here full time, and then I mean he's got another job too, so he's been working, but and then there's the owners of the land, and they've got 2 kids, and they've got a really sweet family over there, and they help from time to time. And we get volunteers. We invite volunteers every Wednesday. Sometimes, we have them, and sometimes we don't, and that's okay. And Eric and we like host different gatherings here, little groups of people, just to teach them about permaculture. And so that ends up usually being some kind of group project that happens. Like last week, we all got together and learned how to graft an apple tree. And now this apple tree that's been growing there for years, that's had like disgusting apples that nobody wants to eat, is now going to grow like delicious. What kind of apples are that?
We did Arkansas black apples, which is a great one. It's a real late dropping apple and very disease resistant in this area. So it's like holdouts from an orchard that was planted here probably 40 or 50 years ago. And the varieties at that time were appropriate to the climate at that time. And since things have gotten hotter and more humid in the summers, more of these like fungal infections have become more prevalent. And so like those trees hardly produce. One of them produces pretty well still. I'm not sure what variety it is because none of the trees were labeled, but like 12 out of 15 trees don't produce anything.
Oh man, I love Arkansas black. It sounds like a wonderful choice there. It's very sweet, isn't it? You can use it for like baking and whatnot. And
yeah, you can eat it out of hand. It makes a great cider as well.
Nice. We have a couple minutes left on this session here. Let's dive into some of the foraging. You mentioned that's a little bit more easy to just, utilize earth and what is growing naturally around you. What do you guys normally forage?
Like right now, or
What's anything you'd like to share? What's your favorite?
Oh, maitake.
Maitake, easy.
Yeah.
The names for joy mushroom, it's hen of the woods, or maitake Grifola frondosa is the genus and species, and it's one of the most productive mushrooms. I would say that one mushroom species, we gather more of that in the month of October than all other mushrooms combined for the whole rest of the year. Like when we're really on top of it, we can harvest 1,000 pounds in a couple weeks of dedicated foraging time.
Wow, that's a lot of mushrooms.
It's a lot of mushrooms. It's insane. It's just like we'll fill the whole back of the car with like these crates, and each crate can hold like 25, 30 pounds. We'll go out and fill the back of the car with like 150 pounds, and then come home, have to clean them all up, slice them up, get as many of them in the dehydrator as we possibly can, make tinctures, like everything that we can do with them, putting mushrooms in every meal. And then we go out the next day and do it again.
Wow.
Or like, in the morning, we'll empty the dehydrators, fill them again, go out hunting, fill the car again, come back, and like.
Oh my goodness. They're medicinal, yes?
Yeah, they're medicinal, edible, choice in every regard, and so productive, and they come back to the same spots year after year. So every year our map gets tighter in terms of like all the different trees that we can go and check. And so the circuit gets more productive each time.
Nice, nice. Okay, that's beautiful. I assume you cook it in lots of different things since you have so much. Do you have any dishes you'd like to share?
Jerky.
Yeah, mushroom jerky is pretty fantastic. That's a great way to utilize it. And with the dried mushrooms, we mostly just throw them in soups. Fresh, I really like them just chopped up finely diced and sauteed until they're like a little bit crispy, and then add a little bit of dulse flakes, type of seaweed from Maine, and then right as it's starting to stick to the bottom of the pan, we drizzle on a little bit of tamari at the end and scrape all of the caramelization off, so it's like kind of deglazes the pan, and then pull it off the heat and it cools down and gets this like sticky, crispy, delicious.
I see the excitement. I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I don't see you excited about anything more than my talkie.
I don't think I've ever tried it. I'll have to scope some places out. Sounds amazing. What
Forage
else
a lot
is
of
there?
nettles. We forage a lot of nettles too. I would say nettles and maitake are probably the two wild foods that we consume the most regularly.
Nettles.
Yeah, stinging nettle. It's an incredible superfood of a plant that grows all around this site. It was growing here long before I got here, and it's just so abundant that like we go out our front door and fill a paper bag full, and that's enough to make like a big batch of pesto, dry some out for tea or green powder. It's like a little goes a long way. And you can, yeah, we make tinctures with it because it's good for breast cancer and prostate cancer, and yeah, it just has so many incredible benefits to amazing plant ally.
Allergies.
Yeah, anti-allergy.
Good for your hair and skin and nails.
Yeah.
It's all around beautiful. It's a healing medicine, is what it sounds like. Do you guys sell any of the stuff that you make with that?
Yeah, a little bit, like at little events, we'll do tabling things and stuff like that, and have different tinctures and stuff available for donation. We're pretty set on the like give what you can, receive what you need model. So it's pretty rare that we like charge any like set price. We want everything that we share with the world to be like, accessible for everybody. So we're not very good at business.
Me neither.
It's all about like caring for the community and the people around us.
That really brings people together in such a way that it connects you in that reciprocal type of give and take. I think that's beautiful. That's a different type of economic approach for how to sustain yourself and also to sustain the people, and given the way that you are knowledgeable about and give that healing. I make essential oils, so I connect with it. It's mostly as gifts, but if people want to reciprocate in any way, then that's also welcome as well. Well, we only have a couple minutes left, and I would love to thank you guys for coming here and sharing just whatever you wanted to share, and thank you for giving a voice to your experience and the gifts that you not only give to your experience, but also to your communities. Is there any way that our audience can connect with you? Let's give some shout outs for how to connect to either any of your medias.
Yeah, for sure. The website is www.plantpath.org. And then we usually just use my social media account for most things, which is like Instagram, EricJosephLewis, Facebook, EricJosephLewis, Gmail, EricJosephLewis. Like it's just all the same. Venmo, PayPal,
Hook it up, guys. Awesome. Well, I'm sure there is so much that we didn't cover, but thank you for sharing anything that we did today. And we appreciate having you on the show, and hopefully we can stay connected. And I would love to talk to you guys a little bit more about your journey. We'll sign off here. Thank you. You've been listening to Sunflower Guru Podcast, and with our special guests, EricJosephLewis and Jessica Russel. You guys are so special, and I honor you, and I bow down to you. Thank you for joining us. And remember, seeds must be planted to grow. Till next time. Thank you, guys.
Heck yeah, thanks for having us. That was fun.